friends with Robbie's girlfriend when he moved here.
All right.
No more of that.
We're on the internet. It's
Yo,
a Tuesday night.
what's up?
Yeah, this is weird.
I haven't had a night packing in years.
Yeah.
Night pack howl.
We had one last year, right?
Did we?
Did we?
I think so.
I feel like
resort.
have
There
we
might
done
have
it?
been one. Definitely in the past year, you brought the you made that drink. The tepache. You brought some tepache.
Oh yeah. That was
we drank
nighttime?
tequila.
Yeah, that's the nighttime. We don't drink during the
That's
Yeah, we
true,
drank
we don't.
tequila.
We're
I remember that
So it
now,
must have
yeah.
been almost a year ago, because that's when I was making a tepache. It's like, last October.
That was definitely the last time, I think.
You making any more?
I would get back into it this year. Yeah.
At our behest.
Yeah. It's good stuff. I wanted to make a watermelon one, but I don't know if it'll work. Yeah.
We're waiting to find out.
Yeah. Yeah.
To fuck it up.
Yeah. Not as many kitchen projects going on for me this year. More home improvement projects.
I'm juggling.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got
It's
13
an
gallons of weird wine in my kitchen right now.
Weird one.
Weird
Oh
wine.
my god, yeah, and I
you
just
make
did a bunch of canning today. Made the raspberry
Smells
jam
like a
today.
kidney.
What's the story of the weird wine?
Well, there's
Right.
5 gallons of 6 gallons of cherry, and 7 gallons of fig.
And you were
Fig?
making this is fruit wine that you're manufacturing.
You need figs? I got a fig tree.
It's
probably
done
not
for the
figs.
year, right?
Huh?
Done for the year now.
I don't know. It seems like it's always fucking dropping figs in my yard. It doesn't technically belong
Just
to anybody.
drop-
Crazy.
Dropping
There's so
figs.
many things.
They really
Yeah,
go.
that's why you gotta
Like
make
it,
weird wine, or you
yeah.
gotta make jam,
I want
or
to
whatever.
try that fig wine. That sounds great.
Well, it probably might be
Well,
like a few years
homemade
before
wine
we
is
want to drink.
weird, though.
Well,
Have you had it?
I mean,
Did you ever-
I've been making wine for the last like
Did you
5
ever
years.
drink Dennis's wine?
No.
Very different from what I'm doing.
I have learned, do not drink anything Dennis made.
Yeah.
No, certainly not.
I almost died. I literally almost died. I was poisoned by him.
Wow.
Yeah, I believe it.
Seriously?
Yes.
Did you drink his wine? Is that how it happened?
I don't
Or
know what
his
I drank.
power drink?
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I was like, it's, I have this thing where like, oh, people who are ostracized by society, I'm going to talk to you and then get poisoned. Because there's a reason people are ostracized from society.
Sometimes,
It's not arbitrary.
sometimes.
It's not arbitrary.
So when I lived at the original Annex Theater way back when.
In the annex.
Yeah, in the Annex
In the
building.
Annex.
I didn't, Dennis would come by every
Of course.
show, and this is true. If you're watching, you did this.
Oh, I hope he is.
I
We
hope
were
Dennis
on,
watches Wolf.
We were just some of us were just hanging out on the fire escape or something, and he didn't know that we were watching. And he's walking down the street, and he's got all this he's got a styrofoam thing with chicken and French fries, and he's eating it. And he just tosses it into the street, whatever. Keeps walking on. It's at that point, it's fuck you, man.
A litter bug.
Litter
That's what this
bug.
comes down
When
to.
you see the
I'm not
moment,
gonna, but
how people conduct themselves when no one else is around.
he threatened to stab someone in my house.
Yeah, he did.
And Justin,
At the poker
Justin
game.
A lot
kicked
worse
him out.
than litter.
And then later, at the floristry,
I'm pretty sure I was there for
He's-
that.
I think you were.
he took out a knife and started stabbing balloons, and he got kicked out of there a couple of days later.
One time.
So he actually did have a knife, probably.
One time I was playing at the Crown, in the early days of the Crown, and
The best days of the Crown.
the best days, the good days of the Crown.
The good old days. I
And
love the Crown back then. It was so
During
good.
my set, there's a pit, and Dennis got out some metal nunchucks and was swinging them around.
I think that's what I'm talking
Oh,
about.
maybe I took them from him and I threw them into a corner, and we kept going. And then later he wanted to argue with me about it.
You took my nunchuck.
And I was like, dude, you cannot do that. He's like, your hands and microphone are weapons. You swing those around. I'm I'm performing. I'm not just being
I'm a
an
mercenary.
asshole in public.
With nunchucks.
I've never.
Boy, I'm happy we got all of that Baltimore gossip out of the way before we went on the internet.
It's very
It's
good.
not gossip. This is just lore.
This is important information for anyone out there in Baltimore.
Yeah, I've never.
Stay away from Dennis.
I'm
Stay the
not-
fuck
He's still
away
around?
from-
I don't.
I saw him
No!
yesterday.
Wow.
Oh
For
no!
the first time in years and years and years.
I'm
Yesterday.
Was
Yes.
he still in full Dennis regalia?
I mean, He was
A
skinny.
Mongolian costume?
He was skinny Dennis.
No.
But I
Skinny
saw him
Dennis.
from afar.
What does
He
that mean?
walked across my field of vision in Mom's.
Oh, man.
Okay.
He was in Mom's?
I see him
At the
there.
Rotunda?
Rich for
Oh,
his
no. Then I might see him. I go there sometimes.
I don't go there. The lettuce is too small.
I'll say this. I go there all the time,
CSA.
and this is the first time I've ever seen him
Is
there.
that a food
So you're
cop-
probably
fu-
safe.
I'm
We're,
not a
we're part
fighting
of
man,
one.
but
Okay.
I've never come
But
closer
you
to
can't
fighting
guarantee that we're getting
anybody
lettuce all
than
the
I
time.
have to
Oh,
Dennis.
yeah, you can't guarantee you're gonna win.
Multiple
Good point.
times.
He never really upset
Yeah,
me
like-
because I just always felt like I had his number.
Yeah.
And that's because when
Yes,
he first
I
came
understand.
around, he started coming to the bank 1st.
Mm-hmm.
And you remember when he started coming to the bank, because you were around a lot, he was like a normal guy. He was like a normal
Sometimes you need
Yeah.
permission.
Yeah, yeah.
I heard
and then,
he used to be
then he
normal.
was like, "Oh, this is a world of freaks." Okay, and then
Higgs was
I can win.
convinced he's CIA.
I've heard that from more than one person that he has.
Wow.
Higgs started.
I really
But-
hope he is.
But
I hope he is
but
because
I
it
always-
just
something.
reinforced
But
my belief that
someone,
the CIA
I
is
remember,
totally inept.
I remember
It's stupid
being
and
at
doesn't know
a
what they're
show at the
doing.
bank one time, and someone was
Dennis
he
is
was
a psyop.
talking to someone, and then they were having some weird conversation. I remember it was like I walked out of my room, and there was like the thing to the bathroom, the like catwalk thing, and they were like Dennis and this other guy were outside of my room having some weird conversation, and then the one guy, I don't remember who the other person was, and he said to me something like, Dennis, he's saying this stuff to me and I like don't understand what he's saying. And I said to him, like, you don't have to worry about it. Like, this is all like an act that he puts on. Like, he doesn't want you to understand him. This is like all on purpose.
He wants you to be mad.
I was like,
Yes.
this is all on
Yeah.
purpose. This is all
Yeah.
on purpose.
Yes.
He's just putting
I
on
believe
like a
it.
show for
Yes.
you right now. And he was just like, oh, he kind of like scratched his head and walked away. And Dennis, I remember, turned to me and was like, this is exactly right.
Yeah,
He just was like,
He
yes,
respects
this is
that.
it. You know what I mean? And I feel like Dennis, I never got tweaked by him because I just felt like I always knew what the fuck his deal was.
Madison
Like, he was
always-
never like,
Yeah.
he never like could get a rise out of me. Like,
Madison
because
was-
I always just like, your whole
Yeah.
thing is just trying to get a rise.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
I'm obviously not going to give it to you. I'm
Madison
just going to
was
be
the
like,
best
no,
one to be-
Dennis, you have to pay for the show.
But you
Exactly.
gotta have somebody running door. A small woman who is going to not let him get away with anything, I think is like his
I
biggest
was
enemy.
like the head
That
of
was-
security at the bank
Sure.
for that reason.
Well, when
Because like no, straight up when like some dude from the neighborhood would come in with a gun or something, I would just be like, you cannot have that in this building. You're gonna have to go. You can come back to the show. You're just gonna have to take that somewhere else, and then you can come back if you want. And I remember like having that actual interaction, and this dude, West Side dude, just being like, okay. You know what I mean? It's like you just can't. Like, what are you gonna like?
Yeah.
You
Wait,
can't.
wait,
like,
wait.
I am like
how
a.
often would West Side dudes go into the bank? Like, I'm
Pretty often.
Yeah.
Like, that was
Yeah,
the only
I
time.
believe
And
Actually.
he was
That
fucking
the
noisy
only
as shit.
time.
If you walked
I,
by, you'd be like,
I
what's,
got-
what's happening here?
Would
I
they
got,
come into
like,
the show?
You know, like
Like,
danced
that's
up
cool.
on at the bank with a dude with a boner, and I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, that's not for me." And he was like, "Okay."
That's not for me.
that's not for me.
I didn't order one.
usually-
The guy's like, I'm just feeling it out. I'm just trying to see what kind of party
No, it
this
was
is.
literally,
Yeah.
and I was just like, "Nope," and he was like, "Oh."
Yeah, Holy Underground was always best if Madison was running door because he would show up and she would not give him an inch. And
Yeah.
he got to the point where he didn't even try it with her.
Nice.
It was great.
Yeah.
But,
Madison rules. Toast to Madison.
Toast.
I mean, you can't have an empty beer. We're gonna drink all these beers before we
have
even
to.
talk about the
Well,
book.
that's the exact amount of us times two.
Yeah.
Times two.
Hot shot. Well, I guess this is my second one then.
That's.
All right, let's talk about this
Thanks,
book.
Tim.
then.
Talk
Have we talked about
Makes it fun.
how hermetic Terrible Tartaros is and how it makes so much sense that he appeared to Ock because he's a thief?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that makes a lot
And
of sense.
he even says, "You prayed to me all this time," and he heard all the prayers, and he's.
But it's weird when he goes to do the sacrifice and he's like, make a sacrifice to me or to another god if you want.
Well, because that doesn't matter. He needs them to make the sacrifice so that Ock looks at the window and he can get out of Ock.
Right.
I
like,
think that's the whole thing of where he's like, do this. I gotta
it's
get
just
out.
like a weird little clue. Where you would think he would be like, make it to me, but he's like, just make a sacrifice. So
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
me or whoever.
I don't
Like,
care.
just make the sacrifice.
Look
It
at the
doesn't
fucking window.
matter who
Well,
it's
Tar-
to.
Yeah,
It
he's
beat to
like
a Mantian.
he's like
Yeah.
realpolitik about it. He's not like
And like, yeah, Tartaros isn't grasping for something the way most of the other gods are. Tartaros doesn't.
Wait.
He's like not insecure about
am
his
I
position.
making something
Yeah.
up that
That's interesting. Yeah.
I feel like
everyone
I
else is,
remember
like,
reading.
preoccupied
Am I
with
making?
family drama?
Does anyone else
He
have
doesn't
this
talk about
understanding
it.
that he was the one unwilling, or like he's the one that didn't want to become a god?
That makes sense to me
can
because
see that.
because
That
I
makes
do
sense.
think
I'm
that
sure that I
Tartaros
remember
kind of
reading
has an agenda, and the agenda is original plan. Everybody get off the ship. We've arrived.
Yeah, right. He
Yeah.
has that agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That agenda is there.
And that's why, I mean, and he's like the outcast. He's the underworld, darkness, thieves, like gross stuff guy of the family.
Oh, also back to Mercury for a second. He fixes Ock's brain. So he's got the
And-
medical aspect of Mercury too.
And at the beginning of chapter 3, who's giving all this money to Ock? The merchants. Another Mercury.
Oh, and then that brings this. I can't help. Every time I look at this, the more Protestant it gets. Like this whole Ock thing of like, they're like, you got to sacrifice for us, and he's like, are you crazy? I'm not a priest. I don't do that. And they're like,
who
we don't care.
cares?
Like that. That's this whole established church versus gathered church. That like, especially the crazier, new awakening religions, the Methodists and whatnot. That they were all about like, it doesn't matter if I have approval and gone through all of the catechism and shit. It's that people dig what I'm saying. That's why I'm a priest. And it just feels so proddy. And he's supposed to be a Catholic.
Proddy. What was Incus like? Not Incus. Was Ock like this salty earlier in the series? Like, I feel like that in exchange with the merchant, like he's like, I'm gonna steal your thing, and like when I was reading that, it seemed like particularly like he was in the thief role. And
In fact, right before he does that, he steals from the
Yeah.
merchant, even
Right,
though
right.
he's giving him shit.
right,
No,
like,
because he's like, no, I'm not going to take your bananas, and then puts like a couple nectarines in
right,
it.
like is he like
steals a
quote-unquote,
peach.
is he
Yeah.
regressing back into like thiefdom, or was he that way and I'm just kind of like
Well, he's
I-
always like-
Thief God is still inside of him at that point.
Right.
okay.
But also, when he shows up earlier in the book, it's usually in the context of the Mantian. Like it's like he's not in his element when we're introduced to him.
Yeah.
And we get a little bit of that when he and
At the
Silk
restaurant,
kind of-
yeah. At the restaurant, he
Yeah.
is kind of a salty dude there.
Yeah,
where he's kind
yeah.
of like, oh, you really want to break into the house? This bad thing's going to happen, that
Right,
bad
right.
thing's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, also somebody starts shit and he fucks him up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just like wondering, like again, like I haven't reviewed,
In a
like
very Star
was he
Wars
grappling with his role as a thief earlier in the series or not? Like
Well, he's always been a religious man
Right.
and also a thief equally.
both.
A dimmer thief.
So
So
there's
he's
there's some
dimmer
grappling
thief the
just
whole
in that
time.
there's
He's-
been tension
but
in his
he-
identity
but he
forever.
hasn't doubted his thiefness.
No.
He seems to take pride in it. I guess
Yeah.
that's the
That's
dimmer.
what
Dimmer
he
means
certainly
like,
does here.
like really good.
Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
he's always taken pride in like it's his
It's his
trade.
craft.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like he takes it seriously.
He's
Yeah.
a craft.
Everybody's got a job to
That's
do.
it. Then when Silk kind of wants to get into it, that would make sense. Why he would be kind of like okay, like dabbler, right? You know?
But
Yeah,
he's
that's how Nate Bell's been
Weekend
talking to me
warrior.
about plasterwork.
he's also been self-deprecating. I feel like with Jugs, he's always like, why would Jugs really want to like me? She doesn't
Yeah.
really like me. She wouldn't really like
Yeah.
He's like, I'm a bad guy, and I like he's proud of his craft, but he also understands where it fits in with everyone else. That
Yeah.
he's like at the bottom of the fucking pile.
Yeah.
He's a good man.
Yeah.
And good thief.
He's a
Yeah.
religious man.
And thorough.
He is a religious man. It's funny like that when
Yes.
the little
The good
fruit
thing.
seller is like, they say like everyone's talking about how you always go to church and you talk to Silk and you talk to Mint too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this one thing everyone knows about this thief is that he's religious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, which another like the small town aspect of this.
Yeah.
I'm so taken with in this past the reading it yet earlier today. Like, it's just all about gossip and what other people... In the preceding chapter,
Well, that's interesting.
Silk spends so much time thinking about
like
what
astrology
people...
up in this
What would
book.
people think of me?
Wait, did we talk about why does Ankh kidnaps Hyacinth?
Yeah.
And it's because Tataros tells him to. But do we know why he does that?
I don't currently
Is it
know.
because they need? Well, because then.
Doesn't make
I mean,
sense.
maybe if
Because
you're
then she
talking
just
about, if
runs
you're
away.
talking if Tartarus, if his like thing is plan of pause, then Hyacinth is an obstruction because Silk is obsessed with her.
Right.
Okay,
Right. You
yes.
need to keep them
I mean,
separated.
in a logistical sense,
And at
like,
some point in this chapter, he says, like, you can let her go now. It might just be because
like
the
things
amount
are
of
in
time
action
that
or
took
whatever.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's my best
I
guess.
think that feels right to me.
Yeah, it does feel right because it seems pretty arbitrary.
And it's neat too that the underworld is taking away like the love from Silk. Like that's the part of the like that's the force that's going to be able to do.
Oh shit! It's Orphic.
yeah.
Now we have to think about that.
Orphan.
Think about.
Yeah, right. Orpheus's wife gets taken to the underworld, and then he goes down to get her back, and is able to do it because he plays a mean guitar riff. And then when they're coming back, it becomes Lot and his wife, and she has to become a pillar of salt because she looks at it.
And Hyacinth does disappear.
Well, yeah, Hyacinth is the underworld, as he said, the underworld takes Silk's love. And then he gets her back.
Man, I'm so mad that I haven't finished the second read of Short Sun yet.
You're
Yeah,
mad.
I'm like,
Yeah, I just feel like you can't, like, you know, it's like you can't understand the one book till you understand the other one.
like
It's like all
200
too
I'm
locked in.
in
It's
the
all
middle-
too fucking locked in.
I'm in
I
the
feel
middle
like there's
of
shit that I should know that I can't remember.
It's a hologram. It's a
I'm of the
hologram.
opinion that
It's a
Wolf is
hologram.
making it up as he goes along.
No, but it's not like that.
Yes.
But it's not like that.
I'm like
it's
100 pages from the end of Return to the World. And this morning I was like, why can't we just talk about Short Sun?
But I don't mean it in the sense, I'm not talking Aramini style where it's like a puzzle you're trying to put together.
Yeah.
I'm just
No, I
saying
know.
he probably is doing that, but that also doesn't negate the fact that the stuff that comes later
Right.
illuminates the stuff that
Yeah.
was written before.
It's in Dira's net. Everything is reflected
Yes.
in everything.
It's a hologram.
And I do feel like Wolf is a very good reader of his own work.
Yes.
In a way that like not all fantasy writers or sci-fi writers even are really that good at understanding like the threads that are running through their own work. But Wolf seems to be like, I feel like you couldn't have conceived all of this, at once and then written it.
Right.
I think he does have to be making it up as he goes along, but it seems like he's really good at being able to go back and pull. It's like
Yeah.
His,
So
his characters
that's how.
are...
That's
It's
what
like-
I think.
It's like
that-
do you ever watch Arrested Development and are just like your mind is just completely fucking blown by some of the joke
Yeah.
threads.
The density of
Yeah.
The density of the
Yes.
jokes, the way that things, and on
And
a
the
rewatch,
second one,
on a rewatch, you start seeing things get set up way ahead, and like there's no like they couldn't have mapped all of that out doing it. Like a lot of it had to have been this kind of like free associative thing, or like they're just like really remembering everything. They're really good. I feel the Arrested Development
They
writers were
built
really
off of
good
themselves.
interpreters
Their own
of their own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I feel like Wolf is very much it's the Arrested Development of science fiction.
Oh no! Now I'm gonna try to cast everyone in here as an actor. For
I will
Arrested
say
Development.
so this is going to derail for a minute, but Madison and I
Well,
have been watching Succession
Chanel, no.
and Arrested
Hyacinth is
Development kind of in parallel, and it is
That's the only one.
incredible
As far as I got.
how they're just the same thing.
Say the two. What are the two things?
Righteous Gemstones
Succession.
too. It's the
Uh-huh.
same
Oh,
family
yeah, Righteous
formula.
Gemstones is so.
Oh yeah, yeah. Right.
And
Yeah,
also
that's-
exactly has the same dynamic as Succession.
Yeah.
Just-
Yeah.
Have you seen
And there's
I
3
haven't
kids.
seen
One of
Righteous
them's a girl.
It's exactly, yeah.
I haven't watched
Oh, really?
Righteous Gemstones yet.
It's
Oh,
very
you haven't?
funny. It's
very
very
good.
I
funny.
love
This is the 3rd
Succession,
season, right? I haven't
Succession's
seen the
Yeah.
new one.
years ago.
Is it
so it's
good?
Kind of like,
Yeah.
I thought
And
the
bought
second,
a T-shirt from it.
I thought the second season was a lot better than the first.
Oh, it's-
Even though I really liked fucking Scott MacArthur so much, and I was sad that he isn't on it anymore.
But I am glad
Scott
that I've
MacArthur's
been watching Succession.
one of my
so now
favorites.
that
I wish he
know
was in
what
more
everybody's
things.
talking
Well,
about.
I've been
Succession's
watching
so good.
Seinfeld because we
I've been making the mistake of watching Seinfeld interviews.
No, I've watched Seinfeld.
I just
No,
Jess
but
and I were just talking
I've
today
been
about
watching it from. I have never watched the whole thing all the way through.
Oh,
And
what?
You're watching it in sequence?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
It's an amazing
Wait,
experience.
but
I did that
the
like
reason.
2 years ago, and it was incredible.
But the reason that I'm doing it now is because we started watching it on the U.S. tour that we did. We started watching it, and then I was waiting to finish it till we went on like another long tour, and now I'm like, well, that's not happening because
Yeah.
I don't have a band anymore. So I've been watching Seinfeld by myself.
Where you
That's
at?
fun.
Season 3.
Okay.
Oh, that's where it kicks
yeah,
in.
That's really where it's yeah.
You're past the Chinese food? The
No,
Chinese restaurant?
I'm on not that this is a spoiler because I've already seen like all of them.
Spoiler.
But
Spoilers
I just
for-
Spoiler of which ones you've seen.
it's sort of like, but it's sort
You
of
spent
like
the whole episode
no,
in
but it
Chinese
sort of
restaurant.
is like
Spoiler.
no. I mean, I remember that one pretty well actually. But it sort of is like
It's only one of the most famous
it's been
episodes
so
of
long.
television
It's
in
been
the last
so
30
long.
years.
It's been so long since I've
Ever.
seen most of these episodes that it's like it's new
Watching
in this
Seinfeld
really
is
great
interesting
way.
because
It's-
you're like analyzing the whole time. Has this aged well? And it like walks that tightrope. Like there's
It's
so
so fucking funny.
it's funny.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of like weird sexism and racism.
Yeah,
like,
of
kinda,
course,
like,
yeah.
It's a product of the time.
woven throughout. Yeah, like so it's.
But also
interesting
still
to be like,
programming
how
what
is-
is about to happen after it. Like everything in the aughts is totally post-Seinfeldian and relies
Oh
on
yeah,
Seinfeld.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, like all the irony.
Have you seen that episode of Always Sunny? That's like a clip show, but
Oh, right.
very quickly
Always
into the
Sunny
show,
is like
all
a-
of the clips are not really from.
Oh, really?
All the clips are new.
Is it
That's
that
awesome.
more? Oh no, I'm thinking of different. I watched a recent Always Sunny episode.
Oh, this is not that recent.
I've never
still
seen
make
a
that?
single
Yes.
episode.
Me neither,
After
but I
you
watched
watch
this
Seinfeld.
lawyer who analyzed
Oh, it
the
is.
That's
episode.
after
I
you
only
watch
saw the
Seinfeld, you
first
should watch Always
season
Sunny.
of
It's like
Sunny,
it's
and
like
I've never-
Seinfeld on ketamine.
never
It
watched
is, yeah. It's like
That doesn't
they took
make me
everything
wanna
and
watch it.
pushed it up, and we're just like, how could you do this like even more annoyingly?
I trust that,
That
it's good
doesn't
because
make
I
me
trust
wanna watch
Danny
it.
Oh,
DeVito.
it's
You do.
very
I do
good.
want to watch.
It's
I don't think
very
I'll watch
good.
it. I think it's alright. It's not that good.
It's not all great, but the great stuff is really good.
Yeah, the highs are
I
quite
mean,
high.
it's been on forever. You
I'll admit I
can't be
haven't
all
watched
great
it.
when you're on forever.
It's true. I think
That-
they
yeah.
finally gotten to the point where it's like you can see a little, like they cut down from 10 to 8 episodes, which doesn't make any fucking sense to me.
Well, I'm not a It's Always Sunny completist. I've not seen that much of it. At some point a few months ago, I was like, I'm gonna watch a recent It's Always Sunny and see what it's like. And it was their first one, like post COVID, where they were all getting interviewed about their PPP loans that they all took out for outrageously, fabricated reasons. And then, so each of them are telling this, IRS person, like why they needed money and what they did with it. It becomes apparent that they were like responsible for just every bad thing that happened during that era. And they keep on making jokes to people about like, oh yeah, I'm not crazy about, or like our guy should have won, where it's hinted strongly that they're Trump supporters, but then it turns out that they were all just really into Kanye. They were all they all wanted Kanye to win.
Also bad.
Oh,
Yeah.
I kind of remember. I think I watched that.
It's a really, I don't know. I was like, I don't know why I'm watching this, but it was pretty funny. Like they're still sharp. Like they're not just
Yeah.
phoning it in.
Did you
My-
see their Me Too
My
episode? Was
interpretation
really
of
good.
Always Sunny is that it's a bad kid show made by good kids. And that's I only had that interpretation after I watched their podcast. because
They're good-
when
they're
you
good
watch their
boys on the
podcasts,
podcast?
it becomes clear that they're good kids.
Mm.
But they are shadow bad kids because they are all the shadow versions of themselves.
Right, it's just that pure id
we're-
is all that makes it on the screen.
Like Glenn is clearly absolutely fucking out of his mind, and he's clearly a
Which
truly
one?
insane.
He's
person.
become a really good actor.
Yeah.
It's been so weird.
Glenn
Dennis.
Howerton
Dennis.
Dennis. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
he's
one
like-
is he?
He's the one who locks
Is he-
ladies in his
He
room.
thinks he's handsome. He calls him the golden god.
Is he the guy with dark hair or the guy
Yeah,
with light
dark
hair?
hair.
The dark hair guy. Okay, yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. At the beginning, he's kind of like the least interesting character. I feel like, but he's become the greatest actor of all.
There's that one
Interesting.
Valentine's Day episode where they give him a rocket launcher, and I just feel like that's like such a there's such a sharp turn in his demeanor that I was like, damn, like I'm actually moved right now.
Yeah.
But the moment is him getting a rocket launcher, and he's just like tearing up and stuff. But sorry to derail, but my favorite episode is the Wayne Boggs on the plane drinking beer episode, and then there's the girl episode, and I watched them in a row, and they are the exact mirror girl version of the boy episode, and it's just
It's brilliant. You really should watch
it's
it.
brilliant. It's fucking brilliant.
There's enough moments of genius that it's very worth
enough
watching.
moments-
Especially in the
genius.
first 8 seasons.
Yeah. Well, maybe in the first couple episodes, but maybe the third season in.
Well, I do think they cut at least one or two out of the beginning. No, they've cut actually a bunch. They cut the Dee's dating a retard. They cut.
Jesus.
But
Well,
they.
Well, he wasn't really retarded in
And at the end of the day, they were the butt of the joke.
Yes,
they
'cause
were.
They thought a
yeah.
guy who was retarded who wasn't at all.
And then he showed them all up at the
Yes,
end.
he did. But they also cut every one in which Dee does her Latina character, which is really a bummer because that character was so good. It was like she was the joke. The joke wasn't about Latina women. It was about her trying to
We're
do
not-
catchphrase comedy.
Society is not ready.
No, they're not. It'll be
Future generations will be able to understand
Can
and
really
appreciate
unpack
it.
it,
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be like when we find those Tijuana Bible comics. And they're like, what, people from the Victorian era actually knew about sex? That's what they're gonna.
that's a drawing of a boner.
It's like, what, there was offensive jokes back then, like kind of on the line, like a little bit brainy versions of this thing you're not supposed to say, this taboo thing. It'll
Like how we do now, where
Right.
we're like, people knew about sex, and
Yeah.
it's just like, well, how do you think
like-
that you exist right
Yeah,
now? They must have known.
I didn't realize that sophisticated people existed during this time that I have a very cartoonish idea about.
I made a point not to learn.
That was John Fowler's whole thesis of all his work. That was the guy who wrote the Magus.
The Magus, yeah.
Yeah, it was that the whole point of the Victorian era was it got sexier the less you talked about.
That is,
sex.
I agree with that 100%.
That's what his whole thing was.
Yep. That's why I feel like I've been naked in front of people so many times, because I feel like it's not sexy to be naked it's like nothing sexual at
Yeah.
all about being naked in the wrong context.
Yeah.
That it's just
I agree with
humiliating
Yeah.
Yeah.
and funny.
It is funny.
It's
But it's not sexy.
yeah. But now that I look back and I think about certain times that I've been naked, like the first Wartscape and stuff like that, where I'm like, if I tried to do that today, it would be so insane. It was like, it would be not surprising if I was tackled and taken to prison for things that I didn't think a second thought about, and apparently neither did 500 people who were in the room.
Yeah.
I mean, Madison gets naked when she performs
It's
most
true,
of the time.
but she's a girl in 2023.
Also,
True.
not naked.
Sometimes.
Sometimes
All
naked.
the way?
Yeah,
Sometimes all the way.
From what I've heard, sometimes all the way.
Depends on how sweaty it is.
Sometimes all the way.
Yeah.
I've heard she's gone all the way.
From a full bush.
But there is a thing too. Yeah, I mean, like a
Oh, I miss Madison.
Like a-
She's so cool.
a naked female
too.
body is not offensive in the way that a naked male body is.
Yeah.
It's not
It's
aggressive.
not aggressive.
It's not
yeah.
Not
aggressive.
aggressive.
Yeah.
Madison makes it pretty aggressive. Though.
She
That's
does.
That's kind of the point.
Right,
Yeah,
but
but
it's not
that's the
inherent
context
in the
of
biology.
That
Because she brings the aggression.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that people are there to
Man,
see.
God bless
is
Madison.
aggressive behavior.
It is,
You know,
yeah. Because
like
the
that.
the music is aggressive.
Yeah.
Right.
But and that's why it's art. It's because it's this nice, complicated thing happening where it's like this isn't aggressive, but the way it's being done is aggressive. But I can enjoy it without feeling aggressed. But it is transgressive. It's just a nice.
But you're not.
It's just nice.
You're
We
not
should talk
gonna
about
be
the book. We only got an hour left.
You're not going to be afraid about a lady, you know.
Right.
But you should be. Sometimes
Right.
you should be.
But also, no one was afraid of me when I was naked.
Some people were.
Yeah, but they didn't listen. They didn't listen to what I was
Yeah.
saying. If you didn't listen to what I was saying, it was scary. But if you heard what I was
Were you
saying,
singing your song about not wanting to eat food?
oh, I mean, sometimes.
Is that
yeah.
the one where you're
I
passing
like
out
that
like
one.
joints? I know maybe that was a lot, but
Wait, you were passing out joints?
The
Warp
best
Why
one
aren't we in
that
that time
a
now?
Warpscape in their space in the copycat, and you like had 100 joints.
I kind of remember that.
That's a lot of joints.
When
There's a lot.
I think about the passing out joints,
Yeah.
there was like
Hey!
a bank show where that happened. That was like the perfect version of that, and so I always think of that one. But I did do that a lot for a
Sometimes
while.
I go to.
That's what I remember.
The
That was the first time I
distribution
got ever
center. What do we
seen
call
you
it?
using
I don't know if it works.
Was giving out joints.
I think you were, yeah.
I mean, and now it's
I was,
legal,
like,
so
three
it's not
people
even
away.
like
I know, yeah.
to do that today would not be
Yeah,
half
you could
as fun.
Literally walk around and be
Oh.
like, "Hey, officer, yeah."
Yeah, pass it around.
Drugs.
Oh wait! Oh, it's real. I thought we were miming.
No, I don't know if it's well charged. It's partially charged.
I can't vape without doing a ridiculous mime dance, so
Yeah, oh,
that's
yeah, you
why
gotta do it.
you thought we were miming.
Yeah, I
You
thought this
gotta
was
be
a
like-
It is
a-
a deeply silly thing to do.
Yeah, it is.
Inherently.
Okay, so we can probably go out of Awk now into.
I mean, Awk is the whole chapter.
Well,
except
we can
for
go to past the
last
outfits.
little bit where they talk about mummies again. How do they know? Every chapter
They do
they
talk
mention how
about
that thing
mummies.
is mummy colored.
They do
Holy
talk about
shit.
mummies all the time.
It is
Oh,
weird.
look at this!
Weird
Look at
detail.
this! I underlined it and I wrote again.
I did, yeah, when I saw that, I was like, oh, we're going to talk about that.
Wait.
I wrote again with
It's
a
just so
question.
perplexing. Who's making mummies?
I wrote again with a question mark.
Okay, we got to reel it back.
It's weird.
Awk has left the stall.
I'm just gonna-
Now they're going to the Mantian, right?
Yeah.
Do you want?
Oh no, I can't do any more than that. I haven't done it. I've only done gummies for like months
Yeah.
and months now.
Okay.
I haven't
Sorry, I thought
smoked
if you said it.
or inhaled. Okay, so then they go to the Mantian and there's like hundreds of people waiting.
400. Estimate.
There's hundreds.
I think you said.
Many.
Oh, and Hammerstone shows up and is funny.
Yeah.
Funny robot jokes.
Anyone can.
Oh, and Incus. Incus is like weirdly redeemed in this moment.
I was thinking how interesting it was. Like, everybody in this book is an asshole, and they're treating each other like assholes. But in this moment, Incus is like, and Awk will speak for me, and Awk's like, yeah, he rules! And it's like, when did this happen?
Well, I
that
think-
you like each other, like you were on opposite sides.
No,
and,
it's
Incus
because-
being like opportunistic.
Yes,
about
of
it?
course.
Yes.
but why is Awk on board?
Okay, wait.
Because Awk also just wants someone else to be in charge.
Yes,
Yeah.
because
It's just crazy.
because they are in the middle of a crazy situation, and they are two people who have experienced the same thing. Also,
I think this is more right. I think there's a genuine friendship that is
yeah,
developed.
no, I think
They've been
I think
through a
it's
thing.
sort
They've
of like,
been
Yeah.
through some shit.
oh man, I had a crazy time
the
with you,
trenches?
but you know what? Now I see you, and I relate to you more than I've related to these crazy people are just following me around.
Trauma
Yeah.
bonded.
And
Yes.
yeah,
They're content.
trauma
They walked
Yeah.
through
They are trauma
a
bound.
dangerous situation and had to keep each other alive. So now we're just like,
Absolutely.
oh, these are one of the
And you
people
know
that
what?
will keep me alive.
You know what? You're cool. You're cool.
Yeah,
It's
like when
legit,
it comes,
and that's
when,
crazy.
When
That's
the shit
just
hits the
crazy.
fan, you like do what you need to do.
Yeah.
So
And
you're
You know-
you're bro.
if you recognize that somebody else is fine or like good at a certain thing and you need them in that certain situation. You know, it's like, damn, I don't love Incus, but he's an augur. And
Yeah.
he's here.
And he can talk his shit.
He seems
And
sleazy to me.
he
though, still.
understands.
And he's
He
a
gets
known
it.
quantity.
No, but that's Ock.
A known quantity.
But Ock doesn't want the like pressure. It's
Right.
like takes the pressure
No.
off of it.
Oh, that makes sense that they would.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that they get along well because Ock doesn't care about any of the like pomp and like religious like performance of it. He's just Ock is just literally the prophet. And Incus
Yeah.
is just a parasite who's like,
Yes.
oh yeah, I'm with him.
Well, but also
I'm the-
Ock
Incus
has
is
this
like,
awesome
but
sermon before they go
Also,
in.
Incus has
Right.
been like, I've been praying for
Right.
something and anything,
Right.
and now you're here.
Right.
Like, well, you know,
Right.
he's like,
Right.
it's like perfect for him. It's
Of
perfect for
course,
both of them.
Yeah.
He's just been sitting in the Mantion doing nothing.
Incus
Just
doesn't-
sitting there.
yeah,
And all of a
doesn't
sudden
do
this
anything.
this horde comes and they're like, sacrifice for us, and he's like,
I
this
do
is my
know how to
lucky
do
day.
that.
Yeah.
So of course you're gonna like Ock then. He's gonna, well,
Yeah, he's hitched himself to Ock.
you know,
And
Ock's
also,
helping him live
also
his best
Silk
life.
too.
Exactly.
I feel like Incus is like, oh, Silk is a big deal. You know what? This mansion's not so bad. You know, like I can see myself living here. You know, Like, I can see
Well, that's
myself-
something that I thought was interesting. There's a element here where like this Mantian is important because
Yeah.
God's come here.
yeah.
But God's come here because Silk was there, and the gods were like,
Right.
this is the piece that we need to talk to right now. So Silk, in a way, made that Mantian sacred by his presence in an odd way. That was something I was getting excited
Yeah.
about.
Well, because that was one of the first places that gods came to in like how many years?
Right.
Yeah.
Living
and
memory.
here's
Boy, like-
Incus. And here's
Decades.
Incus, who's like a dark priest, right? He fucks with mechanics. He's,
right,
he's,
right.
He's the
evil.
archetypal black magic.
Yeah, he's some kind of
Yeah.
like French court of Louis XIV guy fixing up black masses for you. But Pos appears to him because this is Silk's church.
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting.
That whole thing is weird. Like Tartarus is like, oh, I'm gonna appear to you, but it's Paz.
He doesn't say he's gonna.
No, it's
He
just
said he's gonna leave.
Tartarus says,
You're right.
just look at that. Look at the sacred. I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Tartarus can't appear
I guess so. Right. Right.
Yeah, no.
because he
okay.
doesn't have a physical
Self-image.
manifestation.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have a self-image.
He's
Yeah.
the god you're not supposed to say
This
their
is-
name.
But it's
Yeah.
him. He must know that it's Paz, his vision. So he's like just invested in Ock seeing Paz.
He cares more about the mission than he does his own. He's never cared about being it. The impression I get is he's never cared about being a god or anything.
Yeah.
But through that, in some way, has fulfilled the mission of being a god better than the other ones. Where like he
For sure.
remembers Buck, and he's like. His parting words say something about like I'll remember. I hope
Yeah.
all of your prayers that you said were answered while I
That was
listened.
so interesting. That moment was so cool. Like I feel like
Farewell,
that was like
Akme. Neither of us forget the prayers you
Yeah.
offered nightside
It's-
while I
it's-
hearkened invisible.
It's
in your
another
gladness.
Wolfian moment where imagine like a person on Earth, like our Earth, like praying to a cross or some other inanimate object that they attribute like spirituality to, and literally behind it there's like a God program listening. It can't
Yeah.
talk back to you, but it's listening. That's like the
It's like
where it's
when
like
Facebook gives you a targeted ad of some
Right.
shit you're talking
right. You
Yeah.
know, like it's there. You like, and that's like that whole like faith thing. Like, oh yeah, no, it's not going to say hi back to you, but it's there, like listening. Like, yes, Ock. Yes, I know it's hard. I know this and that. I'm going to help you in the future. You know, like that's like literalizing. It's like he was there the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, listening.
But it's possible that Tartaros could have like told some monitors like, don't.
Yeah.
Maybe you just don't need to pay attention right now. You know,
Yeah.
oh hey, come listen. You know, like maybe it did have some kind of.
He's
Yeah.
helping the thief.
Yeah, and that's where it would be just be good to know like more about glasses and like God.
I think
It's-
you get
it's
to decide.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Wolf
Right,
gives you the
right.
space where
Right.
you can decide how much do you want to put
Yeah.
into the like physical explanation and how much do you want to make
Yeah.
it supernatural.
Yeah. Or
Well,
technological.
but I think
But
that's
this is-
because
This could
all
be
of
a
that
technological
is Gene's thought
application
all
of something
that.
that
All of
already
that is
exists.
true.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
like there's 3 interpretations of
No,
every verse in the
like
Bible.
yes,
like
in the books.
every level of that.
You
Yeah.
can justify either one
Yeah.
with what you have.
But it, I don't know if you heard me. This could be a technological application of something that already exists.
Well, it's interesting that the gods don't speak with words. I feel like that's notable. Like the gods don't just tell you do this or that. Like it's always like a weird.
If-
like,
Well, and they also like
if you can't hear them, you get an
No, but
impression. But if you can hear them, you get a more.
but it's not.
But
But, I
it-
don't
but
think
it's
it's
subjective.
Like, but it's
I
not
think-
like words.
It's
I think it's
subjective.
quite clear in this
Okay.
that like it's part of the tragedy of Hammerstone because he's like, oh my God, Poss gave me a direct order.
Right.
I somebody else has seen this. Incus, he saw what Poss said, but Poss clearly said something entirely different to Incus that has nothing to do with Hammerstone.
Well, and
Each
it's
person,
not-
Poss is running on their brain, getting their own experience of
Yeah.
this. It's not communal.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Okay.
Wait. You're
It's
speaking
not.
to everyone.
Yeah,
about a
it's not
different
like
message?
words.
I think so.
All the individuals, all the humans.
Yeah, everybody gets
It's just
their own
getting
experience
something
of it, and if you're a virgin or a machine, you get to have like a pretty direct experience, but it's still your own.
Yeah.
Because this is what God is actually fucking like.
Yeah.
Like Philip K. Dick talks about, the second coming is not a thing that everybody gets. For each person, it happens.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean that's definitely there. Like we just don't know enough about it. So yeah, it
Yeah,
is
yeah,
open
yeah,
to
yeah.
interpretation.
the Garden of Eden.
But it's
I
not
need to read
language.
his whole book.
But yeah, but the two interpretations aren't
I think I've
necessarily,
already-
they're never
I've already
fighting
read it.
each other.
Oh, far out.
You know, they go hand in hand the whole way. Like,
Oh yeah,
you know, I feel like that's a real accomplishment
yeah.
of his writing is that
Thank you.
Right. Like I'm like
you
I,
can find lots of evidence for
Is it just
things
mind-
that aren't
is it just
necessarily the
What
same.
heck?
mind
I
programming
fucking love it.
technology.
I mean, I
Like which I
deep into
I
him
think
earlier
is like a
this year.
literal explanation. It's just like the technology doesn't exist, but through the screens you can just
Just
you can just
really
deliver a message into a
Just
person's head,
just
and
think
they
about
kind of get it. And then there's also yeah, like it
I
could be
respect
like
that more
a
than anything.
it could be a spiritual transmission.
Yeah,
I
like
guess.
it's possible that the technological physical explanation is a metaphor. You
Yeah,
know,
right,
Like
right,
yeah,
totally, yeah.
like Wolf may be saying, this is a way of illustrating a thing that already happens,
Yeah.
but this makes it more understandable. Is to translate it into the language
Yeah.
of stuff that we
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
or it could be stuff that we know. Like it's
Yes.
that I feel like is
Right.
makes Gene elusive in
No,
this way
but
that I'll never get
though-
tired of him.
Right.
I don't want to fuck things up, but I've been reading Short Sun. I'm almost on a Short Sun, but I think this is an application of just like electricity. It's a physical application that we have created of something that already exists.
Do we know about Marshall McLuhan? The medium
I know about
is the
Marshall
message kind of
Yeah.
stuff. I feel like we're dancing towards that.
Ooh,
I don't
I
know
have
what
his
that
book.
means.
I'll bring it on vacation with me.
Yeah.
Let's check that guy out.
He has a lot to say about like what the light bulb did to information because suddenly information could travel as fast as light.
Nice.
Like we can.
Ooh.
It,
No,
it-
yeah,
it-
that's why
and,
I bought
and what
his
that
book.
yeah it's
And I bought it a long time ago, and it's been a long time coming for me to fucking read this fucking book.
The dead bitch in the street line is one of the most memorable images of the
exactly
whole
that
book.
fucking
Wait.
sermon is so awesome.
Where?
he's
Where,
like,
where?
we'll go do this, but it doesn't fucking
Yeah, it's
matter.
not
Get the
really-
fuck out of here.
Yeah,
And again, makes it just seems so Protestant. It seems so tent revival kind of stuff. Millennial, millennialism.
Dead
The
bitch.
world's coming to an end. Jehovah's Witness kind of stuff.
he's got his sword out too. His knife
Exactly.
out when he's saying
yeah.
that.
Is that in the book or is that?
It is.
Yeah,
Are you
yeah.
making a
It's when they're
reference?
so it's
It's before they
ever
go
see
into
a
church.
dead bitch in the street and her pup's still trying to suck? That's you and that's me.
No,
Uh-huh.
okay, I do remember that. But where is it?
I think that's one of the things that stuck with me through
We have the same.
since the
do we
first
have the
reading
same
that I read. That's the
We
thing
do,
that
I
I
don't know.
remember
Yeah, okay.
the best of this whole 4 books.
Yeah, it's a
That
good
fucking
line.
What?
Yeah, because
Why
I
is it
felt
so
like I
much
was like,
longer than
oh
mine?
my
And you
god,
only have
that's the
one.
world I live in. That is exactly the fucking world that I'm living in right now.
You're good.
Yeah.
The dead dog in the street and the puppy's still trying to drink out of it. I feel like that describes
This part of the
the
page.
situation, the historical situation I'm in better than any other explanation anyone's ever
Yeah,
given.
no, that's
Yeah. I mean, I do feel like there's an element that in each time a person would feel that about their time.
Uh-huh.
But I think it's partially because that's entropy. You know, it's always true.
Yeah.
That this is the craziest shit's ever been because it's always getting more and more crazy.
Yeah.
Because that's
It's
how time works.
Sorry.
everything is always the craziest ever been because nothing has ever been as crazy as that.
Exactly.
Because, well, I think
Each moment is a new moment.
everything has been as crazy, and it traumatizes us to the extent that we feel
thank you.
responsibility for it and that we feel compelled to control it. And so, like, everything remains as crazy as always was, but our response to it is what makes one age fucking Kali Yuga and another age Golden Age. It's like the Golden Age isn't a change in the outside world, it's a change into our approach to it.
Well, the golden age is
Yeah.
always something that exists in our memory and is never now.
Yeah,
It's
that's all
always now is Kali Yuga because the moment is a fleeting thing that is constantly being destroyed. The thing that is perfect and perseveres is memory. So it's always going to be what we remember.
Yeah.
That's why the 1950s seem so good now, even though some people were being fucking lynched.
What about the golden age of television?
Oh yeah, no, well, it no longer is now.
It's not now anymore.
The
But it
recently
was
deceased-
celebrated in its time.
It was. We could, well, and it was even because we were in the singularity. We could recognize now for now.
What is Thelk's
Oh,
the
I
god?
need to know more about this.
What's Thelk's domain?
Flexipia.
Well, because this chapter is called The First Theophany on Thelk's Day. And then Hyacinth says Thelk's, was it good about the nectarine cheese.
Flexipia is about. She is aligned with the Tarsier, the lemur and
Magic, mysticism,
magic.
poison,
But she, the
poultry, deer, apes, and monkeys.
and monkeys. Yeah, the part where they talk about Silk going into Ermine's and he goes into the thing, and they talk about how Flex
And it's
Epia
a squeaking chair.
is aligned somehow
Is it cricket?
with the Iunamento, the dudes, you know. It's, and I was like, how could that be? Because she's into like
Magic.
chicanery, and they were like, yeah.
She's
Yeah.
Echidna's third daughter, the goddess of learning and thus of magic and witchcraft.
So
She provides the best protection against witches.
I mean, which makes me think, so the Hecate is here. with
Yeah.
Thelk's.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, that seems like if we're going to peg 1-to-1 roughly, on, which I know you can't do, but I mean, Tartaros is very Hades Pluto. I mean, it's
Definitely.
overwhelmingly Hades Pluto. And so Thelk's is maybe not that much Hecate, but I feel like somebody's there. Hecate's in there, right? This is her chapter. Her name's in the chapter.
Yeah.
And Hyacinth invokes her verbally. When
But-
she's eating the nectarine and
When?
says she swallowed
Oh,
the
yeah,
pit,
yeah,
that
yeah.
feels
There you
Persephone
go.
as shit.
That's-
too.
Oh,
Very Persephone.
damn!
Yeah.
I was wondering about. I was like, that's weird.
The Orphic journey to the underworld.
It's all coming together.
And she's in the presence of Tartaros at that point.
He's there.
Who's not dead. That's another
But-
thing. Is like
okay.
Tartaros is definitely Mercury because Hyrax is
Hold
is
on,
Pluto.
hold on. But so Kypris is assumed to both inhabit Chenille and Hyacinth at different times on the reg. We are led to believe. And Flex doesn't really. She's evoked at different times, but she doesn't necessarily.
We don't see her riding.
However, do we see her riding? But she's allowed to lie.
Yeah, we're never explicitly told we're seeing her riding, but that, yeah, like you said, that doesn't mean she wasn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever says Thelks is in me.
Right. Yeah.
But do they ever say like
Oh, wait, but they talked about.
Kypris is in, because
She could be in somebody that we see. It would make sense.
if Kypris says I am Kypris or I ride Hyacinth or Chenille and I am Hyacinth, if they say that, I would take that at face value. Or if Flex said that. She doesn't, but if she did, I would take that at face value. But if someone suggests that it's Kypris and they just don't, this is something that may be illuminated on another reading. I've never seen anybody suggest that maybe a god is lying about who they are. And so I'm
But it's
tempted
hard
to
to
say
imagine.
that I'm just a little tipsy and maybe I'm not in my right mind.
It's
right
hard
now.
to imagine the
No.
lying being possible because I feel like the way it works is like that, like consciousness merging thing. It's
Right.
like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Cricket.
It's like
There's a
you
cricket
can't be
over
like,
here.
oh, just kidding. It's like,
It's kind of as
Susie.
Alzabo-esque a little bit.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like not a...
You
yeah.
can't be like, oh, this ain't Thekla.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
it's like no.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
I don't
I
see
can
that.
see
I don't see how I don't see that
It's
being a
too
thing.
much.
And it
It's
also
possible.
hasn't been. It hasn't been like.
There's not
It's
sense...
kind of out of thin air. It's like it doesn't. No one's ever talking about that as a thing
There's
Like, why-
there's a list of possessions in that book.
in this.
In
Should I get that one?
this guy.
Yeah, are there any we have to really dig deep to decode because they're not...
Yeah,
pointed out?
there's several that they're unsure of. There's some where there's like, well, this is like a pool and it has fish next to it, so we think it's Kypris sometimes appears. There's stuff like that. I believe. I haven't read it in a while.
I gotta think if there's something there. Gene was
there
like...
isn't anything that says Thelks in here, but
Which one is Thelix? Is she music? No, that's
we
Moby.
just read it.
She's
Sorry,
magic.
we did it while you were gone.
She's magic.
magic,
she's magic.
witchcraft.
Okay, so that
Which-
kind of makes sense that she
And
wouldn't
learning, right?
appear to any of it, right?
I think Bucor is the embryo of Molde.
Oh. Okay.
Oh right, yeah, the
I think-
email.
Of Thelks.
The email.
What?
Yeah,
Oh,
Jordan
the
sent an
your email.
about it.
I was trying to think.
But
in
what
book,
about her
what's
emails?
emailing?
What about her
Yeah. What
Emails! What about the fucking emails?
Where's the fucking email?
Where
Yeah.
are they?
I mean, what is email?
Still.
What is email?
I'm just saying, why would only Poss put his embryo on the world?
That's a very good question. Well, he is in charge.
I think they picked Mucor because she has the I think there are I haven't gone back and looked, but I think
Embryos with little asterisks.
I
on
think
them.
there could be textual evidence that they picked Mucor's embryo because there was the possibility it would be special. But there's no reason to think that if they put Poss embryos on there, that they wouldn't put everyone's embryos there, because
It
they
kinda makes
would
sense
be
that they would.
more open to be ridden by the gods.
Now, at one point, I thought you were going to say that Mukar has pus-like attributes, and I think that's true. And I've never thought about that before.
It could be.
Like her kind of sociopathy, the way she doesn't treat people like people, is
But I think
like. I mean,
probably-
Typhon-like.
But I'm thinking probably none of them had a lot of empathy.
It might make sense that everybody in the world has little paws in them, though. Like,
I mean,
It-
They
yes.
do.
Yes,
Well, that's
Oh my
a-
God! Have
Yeah,
you
yeah,
guys
yeah.
seen
What's
the
the Becky
documentary
on?
about the fertility doctor that was just using his own sperm to impregnate
No.
everybody?
I haven't seen.
And I don't want
I've
to.
heard
It's
about
crazy.
him, but I've never seen the. There's a documentary.
It's
about
crazy, and
I
the
hate
craziest part is
documentaries.
that it opens up with this
I don't like
nurse,
documentaries. I don't watch them.
unrelated, talking about like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, I'd have to take a sample
I think-
across the
I think
street,
they're
and you need to
bad
keep it warm,
for
so I just take
society.
the
Right,
sample of
right.
sperm and just keep it
Because
in
they
my
will
bra
only
next to my
show
tit.
it's
a
very-
distorted-
Crazy movie.
Yes,
Yeah.
a narrative.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
like
Totally.
This
Hell
is
yeah.
the chapter 2 where we see this is a big fucking moment where we see that Pos has 2 heads that
Yeah.
are very different.
Yeah, it's cool.
Like this is the moment, where
Oh,
you're
wait,
punched
I-
in the
oh,
face.
You're
with,
like,
Dude,
oh yeah,
you
oh,
know this
Oh,
motherfucker.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
I was curious about that, and then
Unless you haven't read New Sun.
The
Which,
Yeah.
then how did you get here?
Yeah, but this is the first
Who are you and
actual.
how did you get here?
I can't.
It's so subtle.
Wild,
though.
man.
It is so subtle.
Because there's so much wackiness.
I think I made a note
that it could, like, you know,
when I read it the
like,
first
the most
time.
obvious things
just
don't
wanna
even
say
like
that
occur to me.
they're
It's a lightning bolt because we've had to give up the idea of Severian and that whole world
Yeah.
for like 3 1/4 books now.
Yeah.
And then he does this fucking Michael Jordan slam dunk with Typhon's face, drops the mic and leaves.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the
No more New
person, the last person you were expecting.
Yeah. And that's it. We're not going to talk about New Sun again. See you.
Yeah. Peace.
Well, also,
5 books later.
well, in the next page, Hammerstone says
love
that
Teen
he
Wolf
saw
so
him one time.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Typhon inspecting the ship before it leaves.
Also, this is
Yeah,
something that I
yes.
underlined that I
Yes.
wanted to like come back to and like think about, which is Incus nodded, his cheeks trembling. It was Lord Paz, the father of the world and builder of the gods.
Yeah.
And then he
Yeah.
immediately is like, he didn't even bother correcting his mistake.
Builder is of the gods is like a
He's a Satanist. He believes the truth,
Yeah.
like Satanists do. Sorry, I don't mean that.
But like in
it was like it's like a slip.
Uh-huh.
I liked it. Yeah, and then Hammerstone's like, I saw him one time. Yeah, like a long time ago.
It made me, when that moment happened, it reminded me of when I was in 8th grade and we were reading a book called Hiroshima. Has anyone read that? And it's about the day that the bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, from the Japanese perspective of like characters. And there's a scene after the bomb dropped where I guess they like the emperor. They still had emperors at the time in Japan and in Tokyo. Like gave a radio transmission. It was like talking about the disaster, like and trying to stabilize everyone who was around. Like there has been a major disaster. And my teacher at the time said that was really major. That was really crazy because the emperor would never have spoken on the radio because the emperor was a god. And I you know, like that though my teacher's words. I've never researched this. I don't know if that's like what that means. But like he seemed to think it was that it was literally like a god, like that would be similar to God speaking to you through the radio.
Yeah.
And like there's that idea of leadership, and the gods, you know, are like in many civilizations throughout human history are like closely linked. You know, the king is like close to the god.
Yeah.
You know,
You want the mandate of
and
heaven.
therefore it's not out of like question that Hammerstone's like, yeah, I saw him that one time. Like I saw that god. Whereas with us, we would be like, I saw a god.
yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, maybe in a
saw
Philip
him.
K. Dick novel.
I
but,
seen him
yeah.
once, is
Like,
what he
oh, yeah,
says.
I saw
I've seen
the-
that
I
guy.
saw
He
that
says
guy.
I seen
he
him.
said I seen him
He
once.
sees him in the most blue
If you
collar way.
like, if
Right.
you like the concept of that, you should read the Locked Tomb series.
The who?
The Locked Tomb. I love The
Locked
Locked
Tomb.
Tomb by Tamsin Muir. Gideon the Ninth, first book, second best books I've ever read. Because
Whoa,
I know
wow.
but I know that she loves Jean.
Oh.
Because I
The first
see-
book is called The Ninth? I like that.
Yeah, it's because it's the main character's title.
Speaking of people who are influenced
Very
by-
clear that she loves Jean and other bad things, such as Homestuck. Apparently, there's a lot of Homestuck references, but I don't see them because it's
Because
an
who has the
online-
time to read that fucking thing?
I've
What
never
is
read
it?
Yeah.
It's
It's
an
a
online
web
comic
comic,
from way
right?
back in the day.
Oh.
It like inspired a
but
cult.
Ooh.
She's really
Okay.
Yeah, it seems
she's-
interesting, but it's so much to. It's
She's
There was
so
a
really
long.
Baltimore
into,
band
I can
called
do it.
Hive Bent that was named after.
But she's a New Zealander,
Oh.
and she wrote, and the fourth book is coming out at some point in the future, and it's now one of those things where it's like, we don't know when the fourth book is coming out, and
Oh.
we're like, ooh.
A very George R. move. Move.
Yeah, but it,
Or Patrick.
and,
It's not coming out. That's the answer.
but,
He's busy.
Wait, how was I enticing? Oh,
He
it's
doesn't have to. That story's
it's
done.
Well, he
another.
did-
It sucked.
It's a book where,
Right.
but like
It's crazy.
in my mind, it's like, okay, if like New Sun happened in a different way, and if the point of view characters were different people, and it was afternoon sun, if it were like the short sun characters were from a different point of view, maybe. But there's a lot of stupid jokes in the first one, and I was like, I'm so compelled, but I'm so angry about these jokes. But it became clear that it was just the point of view character's personality, and then I appreciated it and loved it a lot. And then the second book is way more serious and way more hard to read and more like, what's going on? I'm so angry. And then it's like, oh, and there's a sailor joke
Jonas joke.
a Jonas joke very early in the second book, and I was like, oh, it's one of these. And then I was like, okay. And then I was just like so into it. And then the third book is just like perfect. I just love the third book so much.
See, now I had a reversey kind of reaction when I was reading.
Reversey.
Yeah, when I was reading White Goddess, where I felt like, oh, this combination of words, clearly Gene Wolfe has read this book because they appear in New Sun. Like, that's how you know that he's into this book specifically.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Mark.
Fuck you, who?
Yeah, fuck you, Mark. We
But
can
it's
all
like-
agree.
But it's
He's
like
been personally nice to me, so I can't say that.
each book
Well, not
gets...
He's
fuck
still
him,
on
not
scene.
fuck him personally.
He's got a family.
But fuck
now,
his
right?
ideas.
Yeah.
He's
But
like,
just to finish up, each
You can be a good guy
each
with
book
bad
gets
ideas.
more
And
serious
it's
and,
important to
more
have
like
oppositional ideas
exciting.
so that we
But
get
if
the
you
whole
enjoy
fucking
the
spectrum.
idea of someone conversing with God,
cool. That's cool. Yeah.
Gideon the
check them
Knight.
out.
I'll keep
Gideon-
that in mind.
and I love them. And I've told
They
all
physical books?
yes.
Okay, good.
You can purchase them at Greedy Reads. I did.
I've read two EPUBs in the last month.
I got
Getting an EPUB because I read so much that
Yeah.
books start to become a little bit of a problem.
get a, you know what?
You don't have to keep them all.
Get a library.
I
Do you
know,
get them
but
from
you
the
do.
library?
Yeah, it's just fun to.
I love
Because
getting
what if
I'm
it's
keeping
really
a lot of
good?
yours.
Yeah,
You want it.
most
That's
of the
true.
books I've read in the past couple of years
That
have
is
been
true.
EPUBs from the library.
that's cool. Yeah, you just have to be a little bit more on top of it. For some reason,
You have to be on top of it. You
They
have to be
won't-
so on
they
top
won't
of it.
text me when I get an EPUB. I don't
No,
know
you
what's
can't.
wrong.
You gotta.
Yeah.
You-
I
you-
wish they
you
really
just-
wish they would.
You have to be on top.
You
of
have
it.
to, like,
and you
check
have
it
to set
every day.
notifications.
If
You
it's
need
a
to
living
do that.
author, I buy it.
Yes.
And if
no.
it's
No.
a dead author, I steal it.
I literally have the exact
Word.
same
That is my personal.
because I think
Yeah,
it's that's exactly
Yeah.
how I feel because that's my.
Because you can find
But
them.
You cannot.
They're very
Getting it
available.
from the
I don't
library
think
is
that
kind of
I don't
fine.
think a publisher should make
It's kinda
money
fine.
off of a dead author, but a living author, they should be encouraged to write more books.
Yeah.
And that's so you should write. But if
I'm in
you
a
should not.
extremely privileged position where
one
4
month of
times a
rent.
year
No.
my wife
They
says,
make
give me a list
Well,
of books,
it's-
and then the books appear.
It doesn't
Oh, wow.
It's good. It's
actually.
important. You guys
no,
are right.
My
it's
New Year's
numbers.
resolution was
It's
to
a
not buy
numbers
any
game,
Most of that money.
Oh.
and
No.
they're not making the money.
To be
but
more financially
it
responsible.
might
And then I broke
encourage
it. I
someone
I never think
to pay them
buy
to make
books.
another book.
I always happen across.
All I'm saying
I
is
mean,
the-
I usually am just gonna read the
library's
books I already
annoying,
read
just
over
steal it.
again.
They all. It's the
And
fucked
if
up thing is like.
and if the
on
person
eBay,
is living, then
they'll
just
cost
buy
like
it. And,
$4 to $6.
I
Pay
know.
like
I know.
$14 or whatever.
And so when people buy stuff on Bandcamp, it goes to PayPal, and then it's
Oh,
like,
and
I can
then
put it in
it's
my
just
book.
in PayPal.
I can't believe
Yeah,
that
it's just in there.
cricket.
It's like, well, I'll just do one book. I'll just do one.
Yeah.
I'll just
Yeah,
it's-
Ryan,
anytime.
did your thing come out full, complete?
What?
Did Latin Legend come out?
Is somebody gonna get that phone?
It is incredible how loud that cricket is.
Cricket is
Yeah.
going.
Are you talking about video?
Oh my
I
god!
want it.
Wow, I want one.
That's the whole thing.
No, it's only the first. Well, I mean, there's gonna be 6 more of those.
Oh
Cool.
my god!
That's crazy.
I need the whole
And
set.
slash
I want the
amazing.
whole set
Yeah.
so bad.
But
I'm
My fingers are so greasy, so I don't want to.
but
Yeah.
so this is like one story, and then we get to like
Where'd you get
leave
it
that.
printed? Who'd
A
you-
Lulu.
Lulu? Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then it was
How
the
big of a run
Cave
did you
Evil
do?
guys. I mean, there's not really a run. It's on demand.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Okay, so
only
I-
on demand.
It's only on demand.
All right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh.
But no, but I was like not gonna. I had looked into it a little bit, and I was like, it doesn't make any sense money-wise. But then the Cave Evil dudes, I talked to them, and they're like, no, fucking do it, dude. Just, it's like...
Hell yeah.
And they were the one that told me about that site, and they're like, it's worth it. And then it really was worth it.
It looks good, yeah.
They look cool.
Oh, that's
the,
good.
The print-on-demand stuff has gotten better. Like, the book that I designed that just came out, they did print-on-demand, and, like, it's not bad. The tolerances are a little wide on things, so like sometimes the
colors have been varied.
Yeah, it can be. It's not always.
How does the text look? Is it pretty
looks
solid?
good.
Yeah, it looks
Looks
good.
good.
Cool,
Yeah, the
cool.
interior printing solid.
I've seen it before where it looked like printed, but that looks good though.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. And so
That's
they're
fucking
like
awesome.
they're like between 8 and 9 to me, basically, after shipping. The shipping is kind of brutal. The actual per unit price is good. It's like under 7. But then once you get shipping in, it's like, depending on how many I'm getting
I
at a time,
would pay up to $20 American for such a book.
it's 16 based on what the Cave Evil dudes were like, this would make us some money.
Oh, yeah.
But what if you want to buy a bulk amount? Can you get a bulk rate for it?
I don't think it's a very serious bulk rate, but the shipping
your
will be
cost-
better.
Your cost per copy will go down
Yeah.
once you hit certain thresholds, but you probably have to be getting like 35 minimum to see any difference.
All right, so if I wanted to order 200,
You would get something off,
Yeah, that definitely bring your per book
Yeah.
cost.
It would
down.
probably, if you're definitely doing 200, you'll probably pay more through an on-demand than you would through a place that would have 100 minimum,
When I did my
If-
fan fiction book,
is my guess.
we did 24-hour books, and it was, but that was like 8 to 10 years ago.
right?
That was
did-
That
2013.
is a stretch of time.
Yeah.
If you're
So-
if you're planning on getting a specific number of books, you should just go through a printer.
Yeah.
Like, don't do print on demand for that. Go through a printer. The quality,
Especially for like 200.
if you're
Hold
getting
it
200
still. Hold it
books,
still.
go like
I mean, I might not ever do anything.
that's
with the
fine.
thing.
Just like there's some.
I
solid,
alternate between being horribly embarrassed and very proud of it. So I don't.
Well, there's some solid regional printers who, like Tim and I. both
I
worked
want
with
that.
One of them
I want to
in the
buy
past.
one
They're
right
based in
now.
Pennsylvania.
This is the only
Their
one
prices
I
are
saw.
very reasonable.
Yeah, no,
for smaller,
I want to-
smaller runs.
Okay.
I did
Couple more in my
150. of
I
my
don't.
Okay.
And
I
We'll
would
all
be
buy-
angry.
we'll all buy one.
I would be angry if you gave me one.
For
I would
like-
slap you in the face, and I would say,
$500.
"Get the
We'll all
fuck,
buy
get
one.
the fuck out of
For
my
I
face!"
should've-
So like.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have
very
your
reasonable,
tape.
and it was like I did.
Oh,
awesome
yeah?
printing
Yeah.
covers and like
I took
the
it. You
inside's
brought
digitally
it,
printed, but they do a
and
really
I'm gonna
good
make
job.
Eric listen to it.
The
But he
tolerances
wants
are a lot
to
tighter.
listen.
Well,
when you get
there's
print on
some
demand. Like, that's
Places
what
where the tape
Okay.
and the text talk about each other that I'm really excited about, but that I don't think I have to point them
But
out.
I fucking love the Latin Legend. When it was back in the day that
How
I read
far
it.
did you get?
it's a part.
Not very far. I only read the first part, but I was just
far-
fucking
how
like.
far did we
this
all
fucking
get? Do you remember?
rules.
I don't know. I think at certain point I was like at least up to Canto 13, and I
Okay.
remember sending a PDF that at least had that much.
No,
At
I
some
only
point.
read the first PDF,
Yeah.
but I was just like, this fucking rules. This is.
It took me a while to settle into it.
It's
Then I
it's
I was
like-
having a really good time.
I think
never settled
I would
into
I would
It is-
compare
yeah,
it
it is
to
always a
Rain
trend.
in Blood. It's like Rain in Blood. If you just like kind of turn on Rain in Blood at the wrong time, it's not
Oh,
the thing you want to hear.
I just let the vibes. I was
Yeah,
just
there you
like,
go.
this is because I
Fucking cricket.
I don't have a lot
hilarious. It's
of
representative of our audience right now.
I don't have a
Incredible.
lot. Me as a reader,
I wouldn't watch
it's my
this.
least. It's a thing that I have the least confidence
I was just
in.
thinking
So I'm just like,
earlier,
this is
like,
about
so funny that
vibes.
we
I
even
just
do it.
love, and I was just like,
But now we just
this
have to
fucking
because it's what we do.
Oh no, I was
That's what
scrolling.
we
Ooh, the Latin
Well,
legend.
it's also
and the whole time I thought it was the
accountability,
cat
too.
When we get to the
legend.
second round,
And I was like, ooh, the cat. I love the
we'll
cat
really do it up.
legend.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
funny
yeah,
because
right. Why don't we do
there's
this
a
all
cat
again?
in it.
We'll
When
have
we do-
like
yeah.
mics and headsets and everything.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, we'll do.
Oh
like,
my god,
cool
I've been
neon
watching
lights
this.
in the back.
I've been watching this plaster guy on YouTube, Stucco Man.
Oh,
He's
no.
not his name. I'm saying he's like plaster
Plastic
Stucco.
stuff, okay.
His name is Kirk Giordano or something.
Fellow
He's
YouTube creator, check
fucking
him out, Kirk
incredible.
Giordano.
He's incredible. He's like the best. Like I'm gonna send
that's
it to all you guys, and you can watch him. And
Oh,
like
so you've been
it
doing
doesn't
stuff.
matter if you like plaster or not. He's amazing, but he wears the headset.
Nice.
And he's like
Oh.
trowling and shit, and he's talking, and he's telling you stories and stuff.
Oh,
but he's
so he's
got
like Bob
the
Ross.
headset. He's maybe sort of.
Happy
But
little
he's like-
martyr.
Like the
He's
joy
his
of
own
painting,
thing.
but-
He's his
but
own
with
thing.
just wall.
Bob Ross of glass.
Wall
He's a, yeah,
just made
kind
of
of.
wall.
Maybe he kind of is.
Bob Ross.
We're in
He's
the last
incredible.
quarter hour. I do just want to go back to how mercurial Tartarus is. Auk, who is his prophet, is engaged in a very mercurial process of moving everybody off the ship and onto the world. Psychopomp kind of deal. So that's the last point I wanted to make about this chapter.
It is a short chapter.
It is, and I can't wait to next time talk about how selfish Silk is.
I mean, we can spill over. There's no reason you can't spill over.
We
Can
only
we meet
have
again
13
as soon
minutes.
as possible?
Can we what?
Meet again as soon as possible.
Yeah, I love that guy.
It's the name of the flyer, and it's an Irish word.
Yep. That means like wing or something.
Yeah, I think that's it
I'm
means
sure
wing.
it's not pronounced like that. I wonder what it would be pronounced like, only because
It's John.
Scoifen.
probably it is. It is probably John.
Yeah, it's definitely a name you recognize.
And he calls them all cargo. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
The cargo.
And he never pays attention to them because they don't matter. Like when he looks at them, he's like, I can control that with a big lightning strike.
And we also learned that the Trivagantes are coming across the mountains that look at mountains.
Oh! I don't think that's what's being said here.
That's not what...
I think that like he talks about how we can control where they go, and it doesn't matter because they the mountains that look at mountains are what protect mainframe from the rest of the ship.
All right.
So I think he's just like, even if they do move around in here, who gives a fuck? They're not getting into the innards.
Yeah. The mountains that look at mountains.
Yeah.
So what is that visually?
Yeah, I
Ring of mountains.
So it's
Big mountain range that goes all the way around.
It's just
Yeah.
a
Can't go any
specific-
deeper.
It's just
Right.
it's a specific thing though, where it's not like this came up in what I was reading in New Sun, Short Sun last night. The mountains that look at mountains is a specific place that means something very specific in this.
So
place.
is mainframe at one end
Yeah.
of the disc, and the mountains are
Of
that's
the
like,
disc?
I mean, of the
Cylinder.
rod.
Two.
Yeah, it's at one
the
end.
rod. Yeah.
Yeah, and the mountains go around. They say it's like a
And there's something else
mouth
at
of whatever.
there's something else at the other end. Everybody's a short sunner here? No.
no.
It doesn't matter that you can't.
You can't.
I'm sorry.
I think Pig
Yeah.
goes to
You
the other
can't
side.
worry about it.
Pig goes to the other end
I
He
think
does.
of the world.
He's got
Yeah, that's
the
yeah.
West Pole or what have you.
Yeah. I think that's right.
Did I miss us talking about
The book?
What the fuck? Short time.
Both.
We talked
One
we
of the
talked about
songs.
two.
There
We're
was
talking
a
about this.
Man.
We're talking about
Thank
you.
the
Please.
security seal between the part where the cargo gets to be
The
and
mountains
mainframe.
that look at mountains.
Yeah, mountains are looking
Oh,
mountains.
okay.
I mean, I'm just
So
imagining
I
a
guess
weird kind
yeah,
of.
I didn't.
It's like a sphincter.
Yeah,
I
it
didn't
is like a
think about
sphincter.
that it has to mean that there at one pole there is just mountains all over.
Yeah.
It says
I
that.
think at both ends there's
Yeah.
Stone Sphincter, the name of my new band.
Sort of. So if maybe
A
we're
sphincter says what?
maybe we're on a generation ship where the sphincter is just ice.
Wait, you going full Nazi right now?
A ring of snow-capped
Eisvelt,
mountains.
Lara?
A ring of snow-capped mountains that separates mainframe from the rest of the world. Nettle says they look like a lamprey's mouth, round with wings and with rings and rings of teeth.
Yeah.
It's like a mouth.
Yeah.
Does that mention?
But to touch on Eisvelt Lara for a second, they have hypothesized that
I haven't
our
seen
Oort
this
cloud,
chapter.
the
Just curious.
ice at the
That
edge of
says
our
it's in
solar
book
system,
4, toward the
commingles
end of
with the
book 4.
ice of Alpha
Book 4,
Centauri,
chapter
the
16 is
closest
when they go there.
star.
Okay.
Which kind of means maybe everything is ice and the stars
I
just
assume.
burn out a hole.
Yeah.
Which is what the Nazis were saying. Nazis were wrong. I don't like Nazis.
Sure.
Thank you for specifying.
I'm
So I
sorry,
was
they were
curious.
But
the Nazis were
everything
saying
was
what?
ice,
A sphincter
and the
says what?
stars
You
are
gotta
burning
say,
out.
you
Nazis
gotta
says
say
what?
something.
Stars are
Sphincter
burning
says what?
away a whole
Especially if you're
universe
directly
of
citing
ice.
them.
Yeah.
By the way,
Everything's
That's what the
frozen,
Nazis said.
and
These
the
guys are
stars are.
shit.
just like blasting out little areas.
And they
around
came
it.
up with that theory because one guy who hated Jews was just staring at an
This
ice
reminds
puddle
me of
thinking about how
something I
Jews
said.
can't be right. And he was like, well, maybe it's all ice then instead of Big Bang, whatever,
Oh, those
Jews.
one
This
guys.
sounds about right. This
It's
is
like I need
Big
something
Bang,
else.
Whatever Jews.
Yeah.
Did we miss any of the other things?
We get a little bit of flyer.
I hit my points. I made damn sure of that.
We get a little bit of flyer
Somebody got me
action.
drunk.
See what else
There's
I
more
highlighted.
flyer action, I think, in 4. I think they come back, Scythian and crew. Maybe it's 5.
Scythian.
Oh, yeah. Skethin?
Scotland. Why?
Scott. It's Scott.
Why?
Oh wait,
It's like the maintenance crew are like Irish guys.
so I can
Because they're little.
I can purchase your book from the Cave Evil store.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is that the good way to do it?
I mean,
Support
I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would be pleased if they were like, oh, cool, people are buying this.
I
They'll notice that the shipping's to Baltimore, though, and be like,
But-
why aren't they just buying it from him?
Okay.
Oh,
No. Yeah, they want to send it, right?
Like,
I'm sorry. I disrupted the whole thing. I just
No,
wanted
no.
to make sure I wasn't
if you,
falling for a scam. But
No,
who
no,
would
no.
have made a scam of the Latin legend?
Right.
It would be like the saddest
Yeah.
scammer who ever existed.
Get ready, Bruiser's gonna start
It's also-
selling bootleg copies of the Latin legend.
Oh, I would love
it's
that.
also a ton
I
of
would have
books
them both.
and normals.
Ooh,
Oh, that's
it's
cool.
at Normals.
Yeah.
Ooh, maybe I'll buy it from Normals.
Yeah.
Oh, Norman's
Bruiser
is
is
really nice with his payouts.
Yeah, he is.
It's like insanely, grossly nice.
He actually owes me some money that I forgot about for 5 years. So
I'm gonna-
Oh, 5
see.
years, Jesus.
Oh,
Maybe
man,
it's
I'm sorry,
forgotten at this point.
It's
You guys were talking about the book, and I just like totally. Right?
Oh, we're just doing cleanup now, like an idiot check. Making
I could
sure,
talk about
Yeah.
I could talk
On
about
the-
the
chapter
intersection between
Oh,
Mercury
wait,
and
wait,
Jesus,
wait,
which is something.
No, no, no,
Oh,
no,
I'd like
no,
to hear
no,
about that.
No, I don't want to hear that. Wait.
Fair enough, fair enough.
I'll hear it later. I'll hear it later. I'll hear it later.
save
I
it,
do
Kaiser.
I
He's
do
not
wanna
gonna
hear it.
forget. He won't forget.
Right. You.
I like a cool Jesus. It's not the asshole Jesus.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. This is the sweet, like acoustic guitar Jesus. But
Yeah, hippie Jesus.
What about the piglet? What about the piglet? What do we think about that? Was
that-
the piglet sucked into
Oh.
the screen, or was the
No, it
piglet
isn't. No.
Okay, I mean, I'm just saying.
Well,
like,
it
that's-
ran away.
this is
It
another
ran
moment-
away.
This is another moment where it could be either. I don't know. Like it could have gotten absorbed.
I think that is Gene, and I think that Gene
Right.
is specifically making that
Yeah,
joke. It got
yeah,
sucked into the TV screen.
Yeah.
It just
Or
ran away.
it
You
ran away.
idiot.
Right. Like,
Wait,
Yeah, I do.
are you saying the little piggy went wee all the way home?
I do.
Yes.
I am
Yeah.
saying that.
I do like that Gene sets
'Cause
it
he
up,
did.
and then he's like,
Yeah.
You fool! You believe me.
It could either be
Sphincter says what?
It could either be supernatural absorption into the screen, or
It
most
ran
mundane
away
thing
when you were
ever.
distracted.
It could
Yeah.
be either, and that makes me think that's a clue.
they're equally
What is the
likely
screen?
guys.
What is the screen? That I still don't know 100%. Is the screen a really mundane thing at some point in the history of the Earth? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is this like I couldn't help but see like that was like, oh, he's saying, oh,
Because it's running away from something.
well, the pig runs away. But I feel like as a writer, I'm like curious about like WOLFE. Like he's like the pig had either been drawn into the window or it ran away. So
Does
it's
that
either-
maybe imply that there's
something
a
completely-
context for something disappearing?
Well, your data can go into the window. You could, yourself, your information, your infomorph can
Right.
be drawn through the window.
right? But your
A la
physicality-
possession. But your corporeal form. No.
But well, I feel like the pig. I feel like he's setting up a little thing. It's either one or the other. It's either the pig was corporeally absorbed into the screen. It could be that, or the pig just ran away. And the one is like a very mind-bending and mind-blowing explanation, and the other is very pedestrian. And so, in my mind, that makes me think: wait a second, is this a clue that the screen itself is possibly very pedestrian?
I just feel like it's a device where, like, where is that?
That it's
It's
not
like
some crazy thing.
all everybody. They're all like in the
Right.
trance state,
Right.
and then they're just like it's over, and they're like, ugh, and then they're back in material reality, and then it's like the
And they're like,
piglet-
"Hey, where'd that pig
It's like
go?"
the piglet.
And some of them probably later said to people The pig went into the
Exactly. I think that people
Yeah.
told each other God took the
Because
pig
this,
away.
Yeah.
this
Written
is a
by Horn
recounting
later on.
Much later.
Yeah.
By Horn.
This
And
was the
so-
story.
Who wasn't there?
The pig was important.
Could it also just be Gene saying, "You guys are thinking about this too much"?
I do think
Right.
that. I think that
or something like
But
that.
well, I'm saying I think it just is. I think it's just referring to the bewilderment stage,
Yeah, it's-
Sure.
and then coming back into
Yeah.
like
Because you
the,
don't want
the
to read
material
a book
world.
that doesn't have a little
some
color,
woman is
doesn't
biting
have
her
stuff
lips to
going
a bloody
on.
froth.
It's like the
also.
feeling of it. I just think
Yeah.
it's just the feeling of it. Like you're in
It's-
a trance
You
state, and then you're like, oh,
It's
but
like
where's
a
the
goddamn
pig? Where's the pig
Pentecostal
go?
tent revival.
Yeah.
Fucking karate literature, not
Men who had
Catholic.
been
What the
sitting-
fuck, Gene?
Men who had been sitting
the
sprang
fuck,
to their feet.
dude?
Men who had been kneeling jumped up to dance upon the pews.
Acting a fool in church.
The thing is, though,
Actually, that's
this
the
is-
Chassids.
yeah, but also like,
Yeah,
okay,
like
but these people
ecstatic
are
religions,
dancing for
which I love.
Pras. Pras is a fine Protestant god, but the outsider is for people who know.
Oh.
Well, so, but I want the outsider to be like the pleroma, the Gnostic god that the Catholics don't like. You know,
Right.
yeah.
But me and Gene are over here being like, outsider though. That's if you know, you know.
Maybe if New Sun is Catholic jazz, then Long Sun is what?
Protestant death metal.
Protestant death metal.
All right.
I mean, but it's more pop.
It's definitely more rock and
It's
roll than
Protestant.
jazz.
It is pop.
Yeah.
It's
pop though.
Protestant Prague.
Protestant.
Okay, it's
Protty
Protestant
Prague.
Prague
Protty Prague.
in the like Lamb Lies Down on Broadway sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
it's like
my
70s Peter Gabriel
Pop.
pop.
Prague
I'm so
pop.
happy.
Prague
I'm
pop.
so happy.
That-
I like bringing
proggier
in the
than
lamb.
New Sun.
I like
Which brings
that
us
you- but
back
I
to
like
the
how you
intersection
brought in the
of Mercury
lamb.
and Jesus. Both are shepherd gods.
Go off, King.
I mean, both are shepherd gods is pretty much all I have to say.
Okay.
I believe that.
And both of them go to hell.
Damn.
Mercury is
You
the
heard
chill.
it here,
He's the
first,
most
folks.
chill god.
Yeah, he
I love that.
Because one of my favorite Mercury stories
It's
is when
Barely for like a second.
get 5 watches?
Mars and Venus get caught in the
One
net.
Average
second.
view duration is 2 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
everyone,
I remember.
good.
when I watched
Hephaestus
it.
brings everyone to see.
Yeah, look at what I
And then, is it Apollo asks Mercury, is like, well, what would, you wouldn't want to be in that situation, would you? And Mercury's like, yeah, I would do it. I would do it. I'd be, if everyone sees me butt naked in a net with that
Mercury is the
For only, like, the
transgressor.
fourth time
He
this year.
transcends boundaries.
Yeah.
And in a way, I feel like that's supposed to be the first dirty joke ever. That's the
That's true. It
birth
hasn't
of the
been a
dirty
strong
joke.
year, has it?
Mercury
We gotta
also invented
this
music,
ship
but then
around.
gave it away.
That's
Yeah, yeah.
He gives it to Apollo.
Because the first thing he did was steal Apollo's cows.
I remember
like, oh, no,
that.
but
I
here's
remember
music.
that.
Mercury is wonderful.
All right,
You
well,
and Kenny's also excited because then now we can go on trips together.
But so the blindness. Where does the blindness fit into Mercury and Hermes?
I don't know yet.
Odin?
See, that's why I got all shunted into Pluto, is just basically on the blindness.
So the only blind god that I know about is I can't remember the real name. Hodor, the guy who kills the most beautiful god in Norse mythology.
Order from your friends.
It's the same name, I believe. But it's not. It's like Hodor or something. Yeah. But the guy who kills the most beautiful god. His brother's this blind god, and Loki gives him mistletoe, which is the only thing they didn't think they needed to have. This story is too long. But he's blind and he kills his brother. But I don't know how that fits in.
On purpose.
No, well, so
What are you doing, bro?
So the god's mother makes everything in existence promise not to kill this god because he's so beautiful. Except who needs to get mistletoe to promise? It's just mistletoe. So then, because everything promised, the gods are just having a game where they throw everything at the most beautiful god because it veers to the side because everything promised not to kill it. And they're like, look at this! And it doesn't work. And then Loki is like, hey, blind brother, check out this mistletoe. Try this one. And he does it, and it kills the guy. And then the guy has to go to hell, and all the guys are like, what the fuck, Loki?
That's a great story.
I love it when Connor talks about the gods. Because, like, a couple months ago, I had him come over to my house because I was like, I need to find my patron goddess. And he just talked to me about the gods for like an hour. And it was just, I was just like,
who'd you land on?
Persephone. And he was just like, oh, this and that and that. And I was like, ooh, wow,
Well,
and it was great. It was really fun. It was one of the
Hyacinth-
best friend hangouts.
This guy knows about some gods.
Yeah.
Hyacinth is
he
super
knows.
Persephone in this chapter.
Yeah.
She's like explicitly Persephone.
Have the rest of you guys, have you fucked with White Goddess?
I've got a little ways into it.
I jumped in.
Connor's the only one who can do it.
my
No, I mean,
God.
I love it. No, I love it so fucking much. And I read, like, I get in these phases where I read, like, 3 pages a day. For, like, 2 weeks, I'll read, like, 3 pages a day. Like, I think I'm probably, like, 90 pages into it. But I've been reading it for, like, 2 years. But it's fucking incredible.
That's how
I did
am.
just-
It's
I love it.
really good.
Pick up a nice copy of I, Claudius song.
It's like
But have
spiritual
you
reverse.
poked around in White God?
No,
Like,
not really.
you got to get it. You got
so
to get it.
good.
You have to have it. You
I'll get in
have to
there.
have it.
All right.
But it is like, it fucks with you. It fucks with you. It's like
it does.
so.
It does.
It's not like
What
anything
did
I've
you
ever
just
tried
do?
to read before.
Her boy is coming around.
Oh, yeah, my wife will be
I thought he
messaging
was
me.
here.
All right, I'm
I
going
don't
to turn
know if
off the
he's really
stream.
here.
Goodbye.
Anyway,
Bye,
read White
stream.
Goddess.
White